newer things that we've all seen on the news that are brand new are the supposed Muslim ban or the immigration travel ban against people from 7 separate countries coming into the United States. Another big new thing that's in the news is the wall that's being paid for by the United States and built on the United States border between here and Mexico. And there are lots of other new proposals regarding immigrant visa categories, high-skilled visa categories, need work visas, deferred action for childhood arrivals. There's a whole slew of new immigration bills that are being introduced and considered. Some in Congress and some by the president directly without Congress. Well, there are several things that are happening right now. First, the wall is being built. The country is raising money and starting plans to build a wall between here and Mexico. And another really big new thing that's taken place just in the last few weeks, in January of 2017, is the increase in arrests made by ICE, which is Immigration and Customs Enforcement. ICE agents are going all over the United States in certain cities to make arrests either at work sites or from people's houses, sometimes right in the immigration court building, of people who have committed crimes or who have final orders of deportation. Right, well, the biggest concerns right now are they're not that different than they always have been for Brazilians. Right now, Brazil is not one of the countries that's being targeted for a lot of the immigration changes, although some of the immigration changes are affecting people from all over the world. So my advice to Brazilian citizens would be to plan your immigration to the United States properly, whether you're coming to the US to visit as a tourist, or whether you're coming to visit family members, whether you're going to have a family member sponsor you, or if you're coming to work to have an employer sponsor you. It's going to be very important to make sure that all of your documentation is prepared and submitted by the right government agencies before you come. If you're already in the United States, it's very important to make sure that you pay close attention to your expiration date. If you're a tourist, you probably are only allowed to be here for 6 months at a time, and so you really need to be sure that you're leaving the United States before those 6 months or applying for an extension. If you're here on a work visa, you need to make sure that you leave the United States before your work visa expires. You also need to make sure that you stop working. You do not want to be considered to be working in the United States without authorization, because that looks really bad to the government. So if you're undocumented in the United States and you encounter an immigration and customs official, whether you're at work or at home, my best advice for talking to immigration and customs enforcement at home is to stay calm. The most important thing is to stay calm, don't panic. Right now, it's not a panic situation. You also need to remember that you have rights. So you don't have to open the door for the immigration and customs enforcement. You can talk to them through the door, ask them why they're there, ask them what they want. If they say that they're there to talk to you and they have a final order of deportation and they want you to open the door, then you need to ask them for a court warrant signed by a judge. Remember to be calm and also to be respectful, but you can ask them to slide the warrant under the door. And the warrant needs to have your name or the name of someone who lives in the house, and it needs to be signed by a judge and from a court. If that warrant is not on there, you can feel free to say, I do not authorize your entry. If your name is on there and they do have a court warrant, you can open the door, and remember to remain calm on what's going to happen. Now, if they don't have a warrant and they still try to force their way into your house, that can be pretty scary. But just remember to repeat, I do not authorize this entry. Do not lie to them. That's really important. Do not give them any false documentation. At this point, you're probably going to go to court, but you have rights. You do not want to make things worse by lying or giving false documents. Right now, I would say that for being undocumented, there's no difference between being Mexican and Brazilian. There might be a lot of things in the news where we see a lot of negativity focused at Mexico and other parts of Central America, but those are polarizing sources. Some of that comes from the president, Some of that comes from people's opinions or the opinions of the public at large. But right now, for most countries, particularly for any country that's not the 7 countries that are banned, I would say that legally there is no difference between undocumented persons. You know, based on the president's travel ban, which is not in effect right now because the Ninth Circuit federal court said that the president's travel ban has a temporary restraining order, so it's not in place. So even if you were a Muslim from one of those 7 countries, everything would be pretty okay right now. Now, if you're a Muslim not from one of the 7 banned countries, then I would say that you really don't have anything to worry about, because the travel ban is not based on the Muslim religion, so they say, but it's based on those 7 countries. However, I would recommend that anyone who is of the Muslim faith, unfortunately, you are being targeted right now and you are being looked at a little bit more closely. So if you're already in the United States, I recommend that you do not leave, because you might have a hard time coming back. Even though the law doesn't really apply to you about the travel ban, you still could have a difficult time. There are already actions in place for the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of State to keep you out of the United States for any reason. So if you're Brazilian or from any other country and you're a Muslim, I would recommend that you do not leave and come back right now. If you're a Brazilian Muslim who's outside of the United States, based on the law, you are still able to apply and come in right now, but you might be able to expect being given a hard time at the airport. Right, that's a very good point. There are actually a lot of people in the United States who pretend to be immigration lawyers or who just generally take advantage of underdocumented persons. It's really unfair and it's really unfortunate, but remember that there are resources available to you. So if you are undocumented and you want to speak to an attorney to learn more about your rights or to have your questions answered, you may have to pay some information, but there are ways to check that you are talking to a valid attorney. The American Immigration Lawyers Association is a very good organization that vets a lot of its immigration lawyers. I recommend looking on the internet for the name of the immigration lawyer that you're talking to. See how many years of experience he or she has. See if you can find information about that lawyer on the state bar website or on the website of the American Immigration Lawyers Association. Also, remember to ask a lot of questions to your lawyer or to whomever you're talking to, because again, you have rights and it's your right to know that you're not being taken advantage of and that you are going to be helped. Also, be sure to get a receipt in writing for any money that you pay to an immigration lawyer or to anyone else for legal advice, and make sure that that lawyer has their name, their law firm's name, and contact information like a phone number and an email to talk to you. There are also other options that you can talk to for not having to pay a lot of money to talk to an immigration lawyer. For example, here in Washington, there are organizations like the Northwest Immigrants' Rights Project or the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union. Right now, there are lots of ways to check to make sure that you have the rights to information and to have your questions answered without being scared of talking to authorities or of someone taking advantage of you or your finances or of your family.
Beautiful.
Excellent.
Woman. Other part of the interview, personally, how do you see the immigration problem in the United States? How to fix it?
Yes, I think that there's obviously lots of theories right now on what the problems in the United States are and how we fix them. I think that
I need you to go.
There's two things to talk about. There's the employment-based immigration, and then there's illegal immigration with people coming into the country. We've also got refugee status and asylum status. The problem with immigration laws is that they were written a very long time ago, and the country was different, times were different, technology was different, and it's time to take a good hard look at what this country needs. We've got the need for diversity and for lots of people to come here and to be with their families and to not be separated. We also have companies that really need people to work in the United States. And these companies don't care if they're United States workers or foreign workers, but the data shows that foreign workers are needed in the United States. A lot of our problems right now are that we don't have enough visas for family members, for foreign workers, and so that leads to people coming here undocumented, and they have a really hard time staying with their families or obtaining work authorization. So what we need to do is focus on the real needs of the United States and the needs of the people that are here and the needs of some of the people that want to be here. We've got to change the law from the very beginning. We've got to do a comprehensive immigration reform. Every time we add one little piece of the law that we think is going to fix the problem, it does, and that's really great when the government wants to help us out, as we saw with President Obama, but sometimes those fixes that are small and temporary can actually create more problems, more strategy difficulties, longer wait times. So there's a lot of change that needs to be made, and it's just got to be completely rewritten.